Howdy y'all. Today we're talking about sacrifice. You probably make sacrifices all the time on a small scale. Maybe it's doing someone a favor despite not actually wanting to do it. Maybe it's giving money to charity or food to that homeless guy on the corner of 7th and 12th Street. Everyone makes sacrifices in various ways, but in fiction, sacrifices can get just a little more life-threatening. In Murder Drones, Uzi and V both sacrifice themselves, V doing so at the end of Dead End and Uzi doing so at the end of Mass Destruction. Today I want to answer the question of why they choose to sacrifice themselves, and what exactly leads them to that decision by looking at the circumstances of their sacrifice and the state of mind they're in when they do it. Before I start with any of that though, I want to add a little eeny weeny teeny tiny disclaimer. This video will talk about unaliving yourself, like a lot. And what I mean by that is probably what you think it means. I'm going to mention it quite frequently, so if that makes you uncomfortable, this might not be the video for you. I'm also not the most experienced with thoughts of unaliving yourself, so cut me a little bit of slack when I talk about it. I truly do mean well, I promise. And I lastly want to mention that I don't mean to glorify unaliving yourself at all. If you think about doing anything to yourself, always remind yourself that it gets better. You can get through this and find yourself in a better situation one day. There's never a good reason to take your own life. Murder Drones itself will also back me up on this, so stick around if you want to hear that. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get started, yeah? Why don't we start with the protagonist herself? Uzi's sacrifice is kind of a forced move. Anne and her are being dragged into the terrifying death pit, and the chances of both of them getting out is pretty slim, but definitely not impossible. Uzi doesn't give herself the chance to escape though, and forces Anne out of the church. I wouldn't consider it exactly likely for Uzi to escape the pit, but you can't tell me there's not a chance she can cut herself free just like she does to N and force herself out of the church with him. Uzi isn't truly forced to sacrifice herself at all. This is a symptom of Uzi's greater problem, her savior complex. I mean, it's not incredibly hard to piece this mindset of hers together. In the very first episode, she voices her complaints about sitting back and doing nothing, even taking the fight to the murder drones out of defiance for the bunker's compliance. That's her savior complex. The little voice inside her head that tells her she should be the one to save the colony for good, and not just save the colony, but to make her dad proud too. This savior complex is a part of what makes her a hero, sure, but it's also incredibly dangerous. As we see from her sacrifice, she abandons all hopes of escaping just so she can save one murder drone. Granted, this drone is much more to her than just the average drone, but it's still just one drone, and Uzi herself is the only hope of stopping Sin. Ironically enough, if her sacrifice had worked, she would have simply caused the planet to blow up for good when she could have been the one to stop it. Savior complexes are also selfless though. It's putting others' lives above your own, which might seem noble at first, but it's just a different way of putting yourself down. It's not just a voice that tells you to save the world. It's a voice that tells you to sacrifice yourself because you're not worth saving, because everyone else is so much more deserving of life. Uzi is so set on saving the world and the drones around her that she can't take the time to save or care for herself. I've seen others headcanon Uzi as not exactly attempting to unalive herself, but that if the moment comes up, she wouldn't object to it. I don't think that's the full story though. She shows depressive symptoms such as being irritable or purposefully self-isolating herself, but she also actively fights off death countless times throughout the show. It's not as simple as that she's waiting for death, because she's straight up not. If she gets the chance to do something she considers great at the cost of her own life though, she'll gladly take the fall for that collective greater good. She thinks she doesn't deserve that greater good in the first place, so if she can keep someone important or special alive, she'd do it no matter the cost to herself, which is exactly what she does. And that brings us to the other part of her sacrifice, who she's attempting to save with it. N is that special person for her. They even start dating as soon as they see each other again. Uzi truly loves N and would do anything for the first drone to show genuine care for her. This apparently includes launching yourself into the scary flesh pit. Uzi values N above herself. She thinks he's the nicest drone she's ever met and probably thinks he's one of the strongest too. So Uzi wrongfully assumes he can defeat Sin on his own, despite how we as the audience should know that the only possible way for Sin to be defeated is by a solver user. And no, just because N can't be moved by the solver doesn't mean he could defeat Sin. I mean, him and Uzi get bodied by her in their first fight. Funny enough, this fight also doubles as proof that V is the true key to defeating Sin, making V the most important character to the story. Anyways, Uzi doesn't think she can defeat Sin in that church, so she throws herself into the pit. To me, this is equivalent to giving up. Uzi so strongly believes she can't defeat Sin that she throws herself into the pit, so she doesn't even have to try. Uzi tries to give up on her life and the universe along with it. At least, she would have if she didn't have plot armor. This is important though. The plot doesn't accept her sacrifice, it forces her to continue onward. I genuinely think this might be an allegory for making an attempt on your own life. In failing her attempt, Uzi is able to overcome her own struggles and is able to save the world on top of that. The narrative doesn't glorify her attempt or say it was the right decision, and an Uzi meet up immediately at the start of the next episode. It doesn't actually change anything. In other words, her attempt didn't solve anything. Giving up isn't the answer. You have to keep pushing through until you succeed, or at least until it gets better. And that's Uzi's sacrifice. But come on, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know the real character this video was made for. I physically cannot express how much less of a leap you have to take to say that V's sacrifice was an attempt on her life. For one, V easily escapes eventually, even confidently taming Sparky in the process. This implies she never needed to give herself up at all, and could have easily defeated the Sentinels, never having to sacrifice herself in the first place. Instead though, she just kinda gives up as soon as her glasses fall off. A little too easily even. Dare I say intentionally? Even her final words are eerily similar to the way I just talked about Uzi. I mean, listen to her final conversation with N.
Hey,
No, Steve! We need you!
nah.
Valuing the lives of others above your own? I feel like we just talked about this. It's easy to see that V sees herself as worthless. She's been internally fighting sin for so long and feels she isn't able to actually face her. In V's mind, Uzi and N have never had the chance to fight sin like she has. They have a chance to defeat sin. V's known about sin this whole time and has never been able to do anything but bend to her will. She feels completely and utterly useless. So she just gives up. She nearly allows herself to be killed by the Sentinels. I mean, the last thing we see of her is the Sentinels about to bite her before Uzi, Tessa, and N fall down the elevator shaft. She was extremely close to just letting herself die. And unfortunately, we don't know how or why she changes her mind. She just appears again in Absolute End with no explanation, but if you'd like my headcanon, this is what I imagine happened. V's about to be bitten when she sees Bo's hat, either just whisking by somehow, or maybe Sparky brought it to the hallway, doesn't matter. Either way, V sees it and realizes Bo already sacrificed himself to save her, and now what's that for? She's about to just reject that courage and bravery? Reject that hope Bo had for her? Is she really just going to dismantle what Bo sacrificed himself for? No, she can't. V can't just let his sacrifice be in vain so she can get an easy out. So she decides to beat the crap out of the Sentinels like she always knew she could. She was never actually in danger, but giving up sure is a lot easier. But choosing not to give up is how we prove we are worth it. Choosing to push forward is what makes life worth living. That feeling of hope coursing through you, that makes you feel inspired to keep going, that is what makes life special. That rush you get when talking to others, that spark of joy you feel when you finish a good story, everything about life, it's magical. Now that I've assured you to keep living, let me give another avenue to prove V's attempt. Let's talk about Eternal Dream, which is practically V's song. I mean, the lyrics get reused in her return song later, so that must mean Eternal Dream is also based on her. The first line of Eternal Dream is,
I am tired of this dream. Will it ever end for me?
I guess the first question we need to answer though is what exactly is a dream referring to in this song? Well, dreams aren't real. They're fake even, but they're also constant. Most people have dreams pretty often. So in this song, I think the dream refers to V's insecurities and loneliness. They're both constants on her mind as she is forced to be this masochistic version of herself instead of who she used to be. The speaker for Eternal Dream talks about ending the dream constantly, which clearly implies the dream is bad. That makes this idea of created of the dream a lot less far-fetched than you might think. With that in mind, this line sticks in my head a lot.
Can you set me free? Will you take my soul away?
You could probably convince me that the first part of that is about hoping for someone to finally remove her insecurities for her, but that second part of the line is the best confirmation for her sacrifice being an attempt. I mean, having your soul taken away is clearly meant to be death. In most religious settings, your soul leaves your body when you die. Therefore, taking a soul away is whisking V away to death. This song is V asking for her pain to end through death. So that's why she sacrifices herself. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. Dying here is an easy out for V. She could pretend it was a noble sacrifice while getting exactly what she wants at the same time. It's entirely selfish of her. It's fate that the people around her will move on when they really won't. V thinks that N won't be able to care about her because of how she's treated him, but he still cares about her a ton. I mean, he literally says they need her. My favorite part of this interpretation though is how it transforms Eternal Destroyer. It's a revival song now, or it's at least finding a new sense of purpose. It uses the same lyrics from Eternal Dream but morphs them for a different tone. In other words, it's the same lyrics, aka the same life, but with a newfound energy and life to it. This song is also about never giving up. You have to just keep going. The fact that this song is a fight song just reinforces this. Life is a constant battle, but your only option is to keep fighting through it. That's the answer Murder Jones gives, to keep fighting no matter what, because you just might be the key to saving the planet. Look, it's the conclusion section where I thank you for watching. So thank you for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed my madness. I do want to say though that this interpretation about V I presented gives her a much better reason to come back in the story too. It would be a really bad look if Liam let a character take their own life and it was actually for the best. At least, that's my opinion. It pushes my agenda that V being brought back was the best choice for the show, so that means this interpretation is entirely flawless. Anyways, that's all I have to say, so make sure to keep trying no matter how bad it gets, yeah? Cool. Anyway, subscribe!